Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I will be previewing the final Thursday night football matchup of the 2021 season between the San Francisco 49ers and the Tennessee Titans. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about a little goal that Ryan and I have. We have a goal of getting to 300 subscribers by the end of the year. Just 2 more weeks left to do it. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Last I checked, we were at 291 subscribers, so only 9 left. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Like this video, comment on the video, share it with your 49ers and Titans friends. And Ryan, let's get into it. So both teams coming off 2 totally different performances. It really just kind of last couple of weeks. San Francisco really has hit a stride coming into this game. They had one hiccup against Seattle that they should have won that game, but other than that, they have been in stride, beating teams like the Rams, the Bengals. They did beat the Falcons last week, they are technically a playoff team. I don't think that's anything to write home about, in my opinion. But on the flip side, the Titans have lost 3 of their last 4, one of which was to the Houston Texans, which was not a good win. They did beat Jacksonville during that stretch. That was their one win. Did not do it convincingly, and it's not like it's just poor coaching or anything like that. They have been decimated with injuries. But then they also just lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers after being up, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 10-0 or 13-3, I think, at halftime, and they lost 19-3. I think it was something like that. Just have not been able to find anything really on offense, especially passing the ball, due to major injuries with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Not major injuries, but injuries where it's major enough to where they can't play. Julio Jones looked like he tweaked his hamstring again this last week, so he might not be available for Thursday night. But good news, though, it's looking like A.J. Brown is designated to return from IR. With that, with A.J. Brown coming back, or most likely coming back, does that change really kind of how you feel about the Titans' chances to win this game this Thursday evening?
No. So one of the biggest things at this point, I think you can kind of see it with San Francisco, is teams at this point have really started to hit a rhythm, figure out what they're good at. They have good synchronization across all elements of the offense with receivers, offensive line, running backs, all players. And the Titans getting A.J. Brown back this week, granted he's been in that system for 3 years. He's been out for 6 weeks now, 8 weeks.
I can't remember how long.
I think it's 6 weeks.
It's been significant. No, because he played in the Rams game. Oh, but that was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it might have been. It might have been.
Yeah, so I think the Titans, even though A.J. Brown is going to come back, I think he'll probably have a somewhat limited role. And this 49ers offense is just clicking on all cylinders. Kyle Shanahan has these guys playing at a really good level. And I just think these teams are 2 totally different stories. I mean, the 49ers, like I said, started out really slow. At one point, they were last in the division, not in wild card contention, and now they've won 4 out of their last 5. And Tennessee was the 1 seed for the longest time in the AFC, and then they finally got injured enough to where they've now won 2 out of their last 5. So, I mean, it's going to be a really tough game, I think, for Tennessee to come in against a hot team. It is at Tennessee, though, so that will help a little bit. But I still think San Francisco is just rolling right now.
Yeah, they definitely have just been clicking on all cylinders. And I was watching the game yesterday against the Falcons. And it's not even like the Falcons had a lot of flaws just in general, particularly around the offensive line. And that San Francisco defense has just been playing really well. And so they were able to expose all the flaws that Atlanta had. I think they were, I feel like they were in the backfield the entire time. I think that I saw they had like 22 QB pressures, 15 QB hits, or something like that. So the defense is flying, but the matchup to me that's really interesting to watch is going to be kind of the San Francisco running offense and the Titans running defense. I didn't know this, but the defense has only given up over 100 rushing yards in a game 3 times this season. And the 49ers, they like to pride themselves on running the ball. I think they have 3 different running. Three different players with a running touchdown yesterday. Deebo Samuel is their gadget player. He is. I'll make a Falcons comparison. He is the Cordell Patterson for that team. But on top of that, though, they have Jeff Wilson, who's able to plug in when Elijah Mitchell is healthy. He's able to go in and have dominant performances, which is kind of interesting too, because they also had some injuries earlier on in the season to their running back. They didn't really know who the running back was going to be, and all these guys stepped up and played. And so, with them moving around Deebo Samuel, where he can run the ball in the backfield, catch the ball in the backfield, that's a huge addition to them. He seems healthy back from that groin injury. George Kittle coming back has been a huge resurgence to that offense. You have him on your fantasy team. You've been seeing how great he's been playing every single week.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's a stud, and he's going to be a matchup nightmare for any team, but especially I think against the Tennessee Titans, because the defense, even though it doesn't give up a lot of yards, which is good.
Yeah, the Titans have definitely, I think, struggled against tight ends specifically, but I just think secondary coverage, their secondary is very injured, and what is left is very young. And so I think there's going to be a lot of mismatches coming in favor of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. This is going to be a really fun game to watch because I have a lot of respect. Well, yeah, I have a lot of respect for the way both coaches go about planning a game. Mike Vrabel seems like I think he's an underrated coach. His game management, his time decisions, his coaching decisions during the game, I think, are excellent. And he always puts Tennessee, it seems like, in the spot to win, especially when it's like there's no way that they're going to be able to compete against these teams. He finds a way to put them in the best spots, and his game management, I think, is great. Kyle Shanahan is a great play caller, a great game manager. He'll plan out the first couple of drives, like just go play by play, and a lot of times that they're able to execute it because he's able to draw them up. So I'm very curious to see how these two coaches kind of go about this game, especially on a shortened week. I think it's going to be very fascinating to watch, and obviously it's going to be good football to be played. I think just in general, but then to see the game plan come together for one of these coaches is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think both of these guys are two of the top coaches in the league, and for different reasons. Like you said, I think Mike Vrabel has definitely won the Tennessee Titans a few games this year. My primary example is the Rams when they beat the Rams this year. They were out talented. They have less talent than the Rams, but they were able to just put the Rams in situations that they were able to capitalize on. So I 100% agree. And if they can do that in this game, I mean, I think it makes it a lot closer. But I just think San Francisco is going to be too much for them this week. And I guess that kind of leads us into our predictions. Who do you think is going to come out on top of this matchup?
It's hard for me to go against the 49ers right here. I know I'm in Nashville. This is my hometown team, current living hometown team. So I like rooting for the Titans. But they've just been so banged up ever since Derrick Henry got hurt.
Yeah.
It's just the offense hasn't been the same. They were able to sneak out a couple wins early, as you said, against the Rams, which that was a good win. But since then, they don't look good against the Texans. Got blown out by the Patriots, but I mean that's kind of like the Patriots are one of the best teams in the league right now. So I don't hold that against them. I normally don't try and hold wins against a team. Like a win's a win no matter how dirty it is. But just with the consecutiveness or just the consistency of how they played, their win over Jacksonville wasn't really anything impressive. Like, yeah, they held the defense, I think, played well, holding them to 0 points. I think Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks that game. But offensively, just with all the injuries and guys that they still have out and had out that game, that they will have out this game as well, I think, except A.J. Brown. They just did not look just competitive. They definitely were the better coach won that game. And then last week against Pittsburgh as well. They just can't seem to get things going consistently on offense. Like they only had 117 passing yards. They did run the ball 201 times. But this 49ers defense, the run defense has been playing great as of late. Over the last 6 games, they've only given up more than 100 yards rushing once, and that was against Seattle. So They have been
Yeah.
having good run defense, so I could see them stifling this Titans run offense as well. So that all being said, I think San Francisco is going to win this game. I think they're going to cover the spread, just 3.5 points. I could see them winning by a touchdown as well. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game though. Both these teams like to run the ball, so I'm going to pick something probably in the ballpark of like 21-14.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring. I don't want to pick a blowout just because uh, I don't think that the
That's
Titans
boring.
are a team that would really let a game get away from them. But I just think the 49ers are just a lot better. I'm going to pick
Hmm.
the 49ers for a lot of what you said. I mean, I'm not going to hold a win against a team going off of one of your points, but I'm not going to hold a win against a team if it was sloppy. But when you put together six sloppy-ish performances in a row, then there's something wrong. If you play well one week and the next week you play sloppy but you win, I think that shows a lot about your team. But if you are playing sloppy and barely getting wins, then I think that also says a lot about your team on another side. So I think the Titans have definitely played a little sloppy. And I'm going to pick the 49ers. I'm going to say 31-17. I just think the 49ers are going to be able to move the ball through the air a little bit easier
Yeah.
and so I think 31-17 is good.
Okay.
But
All right. I like that. I like that. So, all right. Well, yeah, it's going to be fun to
yeah,
watch the last one of the season. This will be our last Thursday night football review until
yeah,
the 2022 season. And so this has been a fun
mhm.
little addition. It's been neat. So I think one thing I think the NFL does that I like is they do. I think every team gets at least one Thursday night game, and so it's
Yeah,
nice.
I think so.
It was nice for us, honestly. Uh, we got to
Getting
look
to
at all
talk
the
about some
teams.
teams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So like a team like we normally wouldn't talk about. Like we talked about the Texans. It was week 3 when they played Carolina, but we normally wouldn't talk about them. There never would have been a time that we would have talked about the Texans. Well, there's no need to
no,
talk about the Texans. But so this has been a fun little addition. Looking forward to doing it again next year.
yeah, definitely. But other than that, I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Tracy Take. If you guys have not already, please help Tyler and I reach our goal of 300 subscribers by the end of the year. If not, we will have a very blue Christmas without you, and we will see you guys next time.